Hey there, booktubers! I am back with another video, and I know it's been a really long time, but I am officially done my exams, actually as of today, so I decided to film a video. I know I'm sounding kind of disgusting at the moment because I'm getting over a pretty nasty cold and cough, but I thought I'd film a video anyways because I wanted to show you all the books that I read in the last month. Now, seeing as February was a difficult month for me and I didn't read any books, I definitely made up for it in the last couple of weeks. I ended up reading 12 books, which is really awesome for me. In truth, a lot of these books were really short, but and I realized that that's kind of cheating, but it's okay, there are still books and they were really fantastic, so I'm going to just get right to it and show you what I read. I ended up finishing 3 graphic novels in the month of March. The first one was Tales of Outer Suburbia, which is another Sean 10 graphic novel. I actually really enjoyed this one. It's a series of short stories and it was very enjoyable. These are really short and really quick and the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous, so I highly recommend this. One that I ended up finishing was the first volume of Saga, which is a very interesting graphic novel that was recommended to me by a coworker of mine. Didn't think that I would actually like it, but I ended up really enjoying it. It has the most interesting plotline and the most interesting characters, and I can't wait to read the next volume, which I think is coming out in May. So, yeah. I read The Tale of One Bad Rat by Brian Talbot. The illustrations on this is actually quite interesting. It's a little bit of a more dark and disturbing sort of story, and a lot of people really enjoy this graphic novel. A lot of people are big fans of Brian Talbot. I liked it. I didn't overly enjoy it so much, but it's not that it was bad. It was just interesting. Pretty good. And I ended up also finishing 3 classics. First one is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is a very tiny book. Took me maybe 3 hours to finish this, and such a fantastic book about duality and good versus evil and shadow characters, and just really great storyline, and just I love the struggle between the two sort of personas. And Robert Louis Stevenson is a really great author. He writes beautifully, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely enjoyed that one. Shirley Jackson's The Tooth, which is part of the Penguin Mini Modern Classics. These are a selection of short stories which includes The Lottery, and I very much enjoyed this. This is probably on my favorites list. The stories are highly engaging and disturbing and captivating and full of complexities and mysteries, and it was really great. If you like disturbing sort of short stories, or if you like Shirley Jackson's work in general, I'm sure you would like this too. Lastly, I read Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. This book has been on my shelf for a super long time, probably 2 years or so. It was one of the very first books that I purchased when I was getting back into reading. It's more than 2 years ago, sorry, it was a while ago. And it's just sort of been sitting there, and I never picked it up until I was sort of provoked into reading it, and I really liked it a lot. Sort of like a sci-fi dystopian novel. Sort of comes off as like this utopic world with like the perfect people that are genetically engineered to be, you know, perfect, and in fact it's not, and there's a lot of really interesting sort of plot lines and things going on in this book. A lot to think about. I haven't really sat down and thought a lot about it, to be honest with you, but there's a lot of stuff going on in here that can't wait to, you know, get my head wrapped around it. And it's one of those books that you should read for sure. If you like dystopian books, then you should read some of the more original dystopian books. Like this one, Brave New World. Fantastic stuff. Amazing. Lovely. Yes. I ended up also finishing Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Ariel speaks highly of this book. It is my sort of first impression of sci-fi. It's in the teen section, so it's not really heavy in the sci-fi genre, but there's a lot of, you know, of those elements that are definitely present. I really enjoyed this book. However, I found it to be a little bit sexist, which is interesting. I know that I'm not the only one that feels this way. However, there's some interesting aspects that I was kind of shocked to read. For instance, there's a lot of gore and blood and interesting stuff going on in this book, apart from the sexism. And towards the end it gets a little bit religious, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But nonetheless, I really, really liked it, and I think a lot of people who don't typically read sci-fi have thoroughly enjoyed this. So if you're one of those people, then I recommend you check it out, because it's good. Next, I read Harriet the Spy, which is probably one of the most interesting books that I have read in the month, with one of the most interesting characters. I really, really enjoyed this. A lot of people really despise this book, mainly because of Harriet. She is a very precocious character, and quite snarky and stubborn and disturbing in a sense. There's a lot of things that are going on in her little mind that kind of makes you think that she is possibly a very disturbed child. But I think that's one of the reasons why I adored her. She is quite the independent little girl. This takes place in the 1960s in Manhattan, New York, so a lot of things are going on in that era. And she's quite forward-thinking, and she's sort of like the modern-day woman who rather wears pants and pursues a career than sitting and talking about tea and playing bridge, which I very much enjoyed. So Harriet the Spy is a fantastic book. Great little book for girls to read. Very, very good stuff. Then I read Brian Doyle's Angel Square, which is a book that takes place in the 1940s in Ottawa, which is in Canada. And it's a short little book, really great mystery adventure story about a boy who tries to figure out who beat up his best friend's dad, who happens to be a Jew. And I like this book. It was very good. Then I read Devil's Arithmetic by Jane Yolen, and another sort of Holocaust book. This book is fantastic. Highly, highly recommend this. It is catered to children in the 9 to 12 age group, and I really, really adore this because I find that when you're sort of addressing topics like the Holocaust, especially the Holocaust in children's literature, it's somewhat of a touchy subject. It's very difficult to sort of talk about such morbid events to children. And Jane Yolen handles this in a really fantastic way. It is highly engaging, very disturbing, and like very impressionable, and still sort of speaks a lot of truth and really gets at the whole Holocaust message. And if you liked The Book Thief, which a lot of people do like, I think you will like this. I think I like this better than The Book Thief, and I very much recommend it. 5 stars. Fantastic book. Then I also read The Watsons Go to Birmingham, 1963. Another super fantastic book. Really great book. I can't really say much about this because I kind of don't remember. I read it a while ago. But the main character is amazing. He's an adorable child with lots of spunk and personality, and it gets really dark and depressing at the end, but it's so good. Yeah. Lastly, I read Judy Blume's Forever. I've never read a Judy Blume book. This was one of my first titles by her. It was okay. It's a teen book about sex, coming of age, and all that jazz. Pretty good. If you like that sort of thing, highly recommend it. That's what you're into. Ciao. So that is basically all the books that I read in March. Quite a lot, I know. I'm pretty proud of myself. But I will be tackling a few more books in April now that my exams are done. Hopefully I can get a lot more larger books, more substantial books out of the way. And I will be back with another video shortly, I promise. I have a haul, a used book haul in fact, so stay tuned for that. Ta-ta!